Hannah Peltier is the Communications Associate at the Les Turner ALS Foundation, Chicago's leader in ALS patient services, research, and education. She received her BS from the University of Wisconsin-Madison in 2011.
After graduation, Hannah worked for Red Frog Events as an event producer to launch the inaugural Firefly Music Festival in Dover, Delaware. After that, she moved to Accenture Consulting, where she coordinated event logistics of Accenture's PGA World Golf Championship hospitality program.
Hannah now manages the Les Turner ALS Foundation's social media, website, digital media, e-communications, and event marketing.
Please give a round of applause for Hannah Peltier.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Peltier and I am from the Les Turner ALS Foundation. You may have seen my table, hashtag AMA for ALS, so hashtag away. I'm here to talk about the social media phenomenon of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. So quick show of hands, who did the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge? So I'd probably say 60% of this room, so that's awesome. So first off, I'm just going to give you a little video of what ALS is for those who may have not been that educated about the campaign.
No doubt you've already heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge, and maybe you've participated too. But what do you know about the disease behind this challenge, known as ALS or MND? ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It is a motor neuron disease, and therefore in some countries better known as MND. In the US, the disease is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, after a famous baseball player who died of ALS. ALS is a neurologic disorder that causes increasing muscle weakness and eventually paralysis, which, in most cases, is fatal. Our brain sends signals through our nervous system to make our muscles move. ALS affects the motor neurons that carry these signals. The neurons in the brain and the spinal cord degenerate and die, causing the muscles to gradually weaken and the brain to lose control over voluntary muscle movement. This leads to all sorts of problems, such as increasing loss of mobility in the limbs and difficulties with speech, swallowing, and even breathing. ALS is an irreversible and progressive disease. Patients usually die within 3 to 5 years after diagnosis, primarily due to failure of the respiratory muscles. Each year, 1 to 2 people per 100,000 are diagnosed with ALS. Scientists don't yet know how or why the disease develops, and unfortunately there is no cure or treatment today. It is currently only possible to slow down the progression of the disease. In other words, a lot of money is needed to fund ALS research. So, when you pour a bucket of ice water over your head, don't forget to also make a donation.
Great, so a little bit of educational piece to this presentation. Oops, let's click back. A little bit about the foundation, if you haven't stopped at my table. We are located outside Chicago, Illinois, and serve 90% of the ALS population around the area, including southern Wisconsin and Indiana. We've been affiliated with Northwestern University for over 35 years, where we have 3 laboratories located in Northwestern, as well as a clinic. We also have a home and community services team that offers in-home care for patients and their families to manage their disease. But we're all here to learn about the story of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. It actually started with a PGA golfer, Chris Kennedy. He was participating in something called the Cold Water Challenge, but he was the first person to make the connection to the disease ALS because he had a personal connection to the disease. You may recognize these faces. These are the faces of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Pete Frates on the left and Patrick Quinn. And together, they're both young men who've been diagnosed before the age of 30. They saw Chris Kennedy's video and said, how can we make this viral? We want to make ALS known around the world. So together, they thought, let's blitz this on social media. This is a quote from Pete Frates in regards to why he decided to start creating the Ice Bucket Challenge. The story right now goes, you've got ALS. You have it for a little while, a long while, but either way, the end is always the same. ALS always wins. So in order to rewrite the end of it, we need to raise awareness and raise money. So how they ran with it. Obviously, you see this web of all these videos. They recorded, they nominated, they shared, and they donated. And together, they really made it viral. So the reason why it grew so quickly is because these men have ALS, and obviously they have big support systems behind them, but they're both located in the East Coast, Boston and New York City. They also are very young, around the age of 30, so they are able to target a younger demographic on their social medias. So because of the concentrated area in East Coast and the influence from Pete Frady's involvement as the Boston College baseball player, Boston, the Boston College baseball community, and the cities really got behind them to support them. And you can see here in the graphic, the blue lines indicate the amount of sharing that was happening on the East Coast. So it's very saturated in the areas that they're from. So we weren't really sure how the trend was going to pick up because it originated from 2 ALS patients. We originally saw the ALS community buzzing right away. Well, how was it going to hit popular culture and mainstream media? Then we started seeing some football players in Boston, Red Sox doing it, Justin Timberlake, and then we saw Jimmy Fallon. We're like, okay, if Jimmy Fallon's doing it, then we have to figure out how to make this and leverage it. So once we knew it hit mainstream media, we had to leverage it the best we could and the fastest we could, because as you know, within one day, you saw everything on Facebook and your whole news feed was blowing up. So this is how we leveraged it. As Pete Frady's mentioned in his quote, the goals of the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was 1, to raise awareness, and 2, obviously, to raise funding, because it's a very low-funded disease. But for us, we also had brand awareness. We're a local foundation, but we cover a large part of Chicago and one of the biggest cities in the United States. So some of the challenges we faced with this was how to stay relevant in the saturated media. There are so many ice bucket challenges, and obviously there's a huge national organization called the ALS Association, which is who you saw with reporting the large numbers of donations. So how do we compare to them, and how do we make sure the local people of Chicago, when they think Ice Bucket Challenge, they're going to think Les Turner ALS Foundation? So our biggest and most difficult challenge was distinguishing our brand. But we also had lack of resources. We're a small group foundation with 10 people in our office and a 2-person marketing communication team. So myself and my manager pretty much worked 24 hours around the clock to make sure that all of the videos were shared and made sure that we were, popular within the Ice Bucket Challenge culture. So this is what we did. We went straight to the point. Why donate to us? Why not donate to the national organization? We made sure that we had a very clear and cohesive website on our main website that became the headquarters of Ice Bucket Challenge. So why to donate to us? We made sure that we wanted to have crucial facts to sway donors and educate them that we are the best organization in the United States. We have 3 world-class laboratories that have the biggest discoveries in the world. So we wanted to make sure that we could stand out against the other ALS organizations. We also wanted to ensure that our budget was transparent. You may have heard on some of the news channels and in articles that the ALS Association was getting criticism towards all the amount of money they were gaining. What were they going to do with it? And because all of our Ice Bucket Challenge money went straight to our patients and research, we wanted to ensure everyone knew that and were comfortable with donating to us. Second of all, we made connections. It's all about cold calling and sales, right? Well, that happens with fundraising as well. We wanted to make sure that everyone in our Chicago area, our previous donors, volunteers, and corporate sponsors knew, hey, you're seeing this ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, remember when you volunteered for us, or remember when you made a donation. So it was a lot of cold calling, a lot of letter writing, and making sure that everyone was aware that we were also doing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And here's a picture of one of the law firms downtown Chicago that did a money bucket challenge for us. And a lot of corporations do matching gifts. So by educating them that we're available and in the Chicago location, they were able to raise over $20,000 for us in 1 week. So that was great. And obviously, the third part of our campaign was social media. We shared everything. We supported all platforms of social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We also had a live YouTube feed on our website that everyone was able to share their videos that they supported for the Les Turner ALS Foundation. A great example that the national organization did that we were unable to do due to the lack of resources is that they had a live Twitter and Instagram feed on their website. So you constantly see a lot of celebrities tweeting it and always ongoing to see the quick speed of the viral media campaign. So the success of the Ice Bucket Challenge. Facebook announced that between June 1st and September 1st, that more than 17 million videos related to the challenge were shared on Facebook. These videos were viewed more than 10 billion times by more than 44 million people. They also reported that from June 1st to August 17th, over 28 million people joined the conversation by posting, sharing, commenting, and whatnot. You can also see in this graphic that the main traffic of social media on Facebook, again, was in the East Coast due to the backing of the city of Boston and all the different professional sports teams there for Pete Frates and Patrick Quinn. Instagram also reported that there was 3.7 million videos shared, but they also said that the hashtag ALS Ice Bucket Challenge or Ice Bucket Challenge wasn't used until the mid-August because it really started from the Facebook. And so as it slightly came across all other platforms, the hashtag started to grow. They also credited celebrity Instagrams for the increase in Instagram accounts and the use of hashtag because a lot of celebrities are on Instagram and we all like to watch our celebrities. And Twitter, they also showed that they had a later increase in hashtag uses, also crediting celebrity tweets, and they reached 4.5 million Twitter mentions. Wikipedia reported that just in the month of August, the Wikipedia page on ALS had 2.7 million views compared to 1.6 million in the previous year total. So obviously that more than doubled. Also the daily visits to the National ALS Association also dramatically increased, as well as totaling about 30 million views in that month. Obviously, from the news, you can tell that the national organization, they totaled about $110 million in that time of the Ice Bucket Challenge, compared to $2.7 million during that time last year. And the MND Association, which is ALS abroad in the UK, reports that they usually get 200,000 pounds weekly in donations. And just in the last week of August, they received 2.7 million pounds. So again, the last week of August is where they peaked. So it obviously took a little bit of time to get abroad, but all around the world, they were able to get some donations as well. So now on to Les Turner. Like I mentioned, we're local to Chicago. And there's many other local organizations that had a huge increase from the Ice Bucket Challenge other than the national organization. So while the global metrics were extraordinary, we also saw amazing results. We are a $3 million foundation annually. So we gained $1 million in just the month of August from the campaign. So it's amazing. We also gained 3,000 new donors because when you're doing a social media post or doing the video, they were able to donate to us directly, and we were able to collect that data, and we have 3,000 new donors. Then the month comparison of August 2013 compared to this year in 2014, there was a 442% increase in donations. As well as I mentioned, corporate matching gifts totaled about $30,000. Our website also increased dramatically with our visits. We had a 474% increase to our website to learning more about ALS and from our donation pages. And that was compared just from July to August. Our new followers through social media was huge, and also why I asked you guys to like us on Facebook as well, or Instagram. So our Facebook comparison from July to August, there is a 1,825% increase, as well as Instagram 25% and Twitter 6%. So what we can learn from the Ice Bucket Challenge. As you can see, the Ice Bucket Challenge and the campaigns that Dana shared with you, you can't really create the phenomenon. And as John Brobaker from entrepreneur.com says, you don't create the phenomenon ourselves, the market creates the phenomenon. You have to create something that is so appealing that your audience's response is what creates the phenomenon. So obviously, no one created the Ice Bucket Challenge. It just kind of happened and grew really large because of the connection of people on social media, and people have an emotional connection to ALS patients. So what we did was just leverage the power of this campaign and took it to the next step. So the trends you can see from Ice Bucket Challenge is that you have to have a simple goal. Just dump the water over your head to raise awareness and donations. There's an emotional connection, as I said, to patients that are struggling for their lives. It's easy and accessible and across all platforms. So if you're only on some social media accounts, you can still do it and participate. Also, the fact that it is social and you're recording a video, it's peer pressure. So you want to do it because your friends nominated you and pointed you out. And there's also immediacy. So you have 24 hours to complete the challenge, and it asks your audiences to make the action and do it right away. So again, thank you for listening to Dana and I. We hope that you enjoyed it and that got some ALS education. If you'd like to learn more about the Les Turner ALS Foundation, you can go to helpcureals.com. And again, I'll be at the table to do some hashtagging for AMA for ALS.